Hi, and welcome to my very first vlog. I wanted to do a postpartum series and talk about the last few weeks of pregnancy, about giving birth to this big baby, and oh, there we go. Um, and what it's like to bring a new baby home in those first few months of postpartum. So I'll start with the last few weeks of pregnancy. And um, I guess I'll start with the last ultrasound that I had with her, which was somewhere around 35 or 36 weeks. I knew she was going to be big. I mean, I could feel her the way, I knew her head was already down. She was kicking me on the upper left side. And I went to this ultrasound, and the woman was like, she's 8 pounds, 13 ounces right now. And I was like, what? That's not possible. And I sort of did the math. If she gained like a half a pound until her due date, then like a week, half a pound a week, they say, until her due date, then she would be somewhere around 11 pounds. And I was like, there's no way I'm having an 11-pound baby. No way. So I put that out of my head, convinced myself she was going to be 9 pounds smaller than Wyatt, and this birth was going to be shorter and easier, and all those wonderful delusional things that I could tell myself to prepare. So it's a good thing that I did, because she was very close to 11 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 ounces. So anyway, those last few weeks, I was having a lot of contractions. Like 38 weeks, I lost my mucus plug, and that day I started having contractions, and I was like, oh wow, this is it. I wrote my doula, and of course they went away, and then this continued to happen for the next 2 weeks. So to sort of counteract this anxiousness that I was feeling for knowing she was going to be a big baby, and also I was having contractions all the time, I was kind of like, every day I was like, okay, this is it. I'm feeling crampy. I'm having contractions. I'm going to go, to the hospital soon. And then everything would go away, and I'd go to bed and wake up, and, it would be a new day. And so I started reading Spiritual Midwifery and Aineme's Guide to Childbirth again, and it really made me feel so good reading those birth stories. And I love spiritual midwifery because it takes place back in the, 70s, a lot of these stories, and the language was different then, like they talk about, you hear that? She's making like puppy noises in her sleep. Um, they're talking about like the birth being psychedelic, and the rushes were so big and wild, and this ride they were going on, and how they were just making out with their partners, and I loved that. They were probably very high when they were discussing this, but I loved the idea of having this approach to your birth with love and joy, and this beautiful openness, and looking at these rushes in a way where you're inviting them and welcoming them with a big welcoming breath. And that I wanted to feel that. I mean, when I gave birth to Wyatt, I just sort of wrote it out. I had no idea what to expect, and it was amazing. And feeling those transitions was very powerful. And I definitely was approaching it in a positive way, but I wanted to take that to another level this time and see if I could approach it with smiling, singing songs, laughter. I wanted to have Wyatt there, so I also wanted my attitude to be positive and just, different. So the day before she was actually born, wasn't having contractions all of a sudden. I was feeling like maybe this is going to be 2 more weeks, until I have this baby. And my doula wrote me and she was like, my plane was just delayed. She was coming back from Brazil and she's like, I think my flight's gonna be canceled. I'm not gonna get in until tomorrow. And I was like, no problem. I'm not feeling anything. You know, let's talk tomorrow and, have a safe flight. Sure enough, that night I started having contractions and I was feeling uncomfortable and, I was standing up, which I had been doing a lot in the last couple of weeks. So I was, standing during dinner, during lunch, like I just couldn't sit anywhere that we were. I was just too uncomfortable. It was too much pressure in my, pelvis, and her head was down and engaged. And so, so that night I started having contractions and I woke Eric up and I was like, this is it. This is happening. And he was like, okay. Yes. I kind of been saying that for 2 weeks. So he was like, go into the kitchen, have a glass of wine. That's what the midwife had told me last time. And he was like, just see if it goes away or, if it gets more intense. And so that's it for this video. I'm going to talk about the birth in the next video.